In a world where knowledge is abundant but wisdom is rare, we'll be exploring the role of education, innovation, leadership, and the mindset required to create meaningful impact in today's rapidly changing world. But what does it really take to transform knowledge into real impact? Today's guest has spent years doing exactly that. Joining me on Successful Business Lounge is Professor Folorunso Fashina, an accomplished academic and respected voice in education and leadership. Together, we'll be discussing success, learning, innovation, and what young people need to thrive in today's world. Let's get to it. Prof, nice to have you on our podcast today. Please, can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm Fashina Folorunso. I am a professor of veterinary medicine with specialization in epidemiology and One Health. And I'm from Ibadan, and I've transcended. I see myself as an African because I've transcended many countries in Africa and work in many.
That's good to know. Thank you for that introduction. Can you now tell us how would you describe your academic journey?
Okay, thank you. My academic journey is interesting. It can be a mix of the bad news and the good news, everything mixed together. Actually, as I mentioned, I'm a veterinarian, so I started my career with the National Vet Research Institute in Nigeria. Then I want to go for my postgraduate in South Africa, University of Pretoria, with the intention to work on African swine fever. But the same month, or about the same month, I arrived to South Africa, avian influenza was starting in Nigeria. That's 2004, 2006, back then. And then I had an opportunity to shift my focus and use avian influenza instead of African swine fever. And I was able to work on avian influenza, both molecular virology, and had some very good achievement. They have a lot of publications. Then it opened doors for me. And I was able to get a PhD scholarship through a presentation I made in France. Wow. And the PhD scholarship came with some token also.
Some benefits.
Yes, and it really opens me to the wider society, international community. I didn't leave my first love, which is African swine fever. I ended up getting another PhD on African
Swine fever, wow.
So I ended up doing 2 PhDs. So my academic journey has been smooth, and I've been one of the beneficiaries of God's goodness. That's how I can put it.
Oh, now this makes me feel jealous. Yeah, in short, you're supposed to be called the doctor, professor, Fashina before. Having 2 PhDs is no easy feat. Anyway, congratulations to that, and it's quite inspiring. Yeah. So now, can you tell us, you're a professor, what do you think Nigerians, or what are the misconceptions you think people have about professors and academic life in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you. You know, the concept of professorship, especially in the reality of our environment, is that people think that professors should be limited to the ivory towers. No. Professors are real life solution bringers. Indeed, the concept of university started from institutions that provide solution to the challenges of the society. Yeah. That's the formation of university. And so universities are supposed to be contributors, major contributors in ideas, in co-creation, in innovations, things that move the society forward. And this is how it plays out in most other world, especially the industrialized nations. So professors are not supposed to be limited to the academic towers. They are supposed to be town and gown engagement regularly. They are supposed to look at the challenges in the society, bring people together, especially young, innovative mind, create solutions, feed the society back, and then make meaningful contributions. And that's why it is not a misnomer when you now end up seeing a professor in politics or in policy making or in advisory, in governmental engagement, and so many other areas. So this misconception need to be put aside. Another thing is that people think that professors should be rich in book and poor in finance. It's also a misnomer. You don't necessarily need to be poor by being a professor. You should be able to at least live a relatively good life and be able to also impact others or create their willingness in the younger generation to want to be like you. I know that nobody, no, these are younger generation, Gen Zs want to be poor. So you need to be able to create a balance between all.
You said something that actually led to the next question I wanted to ask. Translating into real opportunities. So, for example, you have someone who read maybe biology or zoology, and the person ends up working in a bank, being a banker. Or you have someone who works as maybe read some part of medicine and then ending up in something totally different than what he or she expected. So, what is your honest view upon that? Do you think that the Nigerian education system is really churning out the group of people that we need in the society?
Okay, thank you for that very, very informed question. One, my honest opinion is that our curriculum is heavy. We do a lot of curricular heavy, impact low type of academic. The curriculum itself, the design of the curriculum should be answering the societal problem.
Yes.
For example, we are moving into the era of AI. Any university that is not impacted by teaching AI as part of its curriculum now is already falling behind. It's already disadvantaging its students. Now I know of country, my daughter's schools abroad, even at primary, secondary level,
Yeah.
they allow them to be AI enabled now.
Yeah.
I was joking with my daughter. I said, "Oh, I've never used an Apple computer before in my life." In primary school, one of the demand was that each of them must have an Apple, computer to work with. And we have to make that provision. So as the society move forward, we need to be thinking, we need to be innovative and thinking constantly. So our curriculum don't need to be heavy. For example, why do I have to study 14 subjects if the core one I need are 6 to be able to impact what I want to do? So, but in terms of getting or graduating with a degree and what you then do, you see, the degree to me is like a platform. Like you create a table now.
Yeah.
I may decide to eat rice, you may decide to eat pounded yam or whatever on this table.
It's the same table.
So whatever you've learned in the university is a template for you. It sets you up as a template. What you can now do in terms of applied sciences, applied application of what you've learned now is dependent on you. And that's why you see people leaving their field of expertise in the university or their field of competencies, going to a completely new area, but because of the desire to succeed in that area, you still see them succeeding.
That was quite informative, what you just said now, and it is true. We have universities who are churning out students or people who are not really ready to face the realities out here in the real life. Now, research is one key aspect in the academic world. Do you think Nigeria has the required number of research institutes and researchers?
Okay, thank you. I will take it from my last question going forward. As I was saying then, the focus should not be on, oh, students just pass, we produce this number of first class and all those things. It's about what can they do after graduation. So now going into research that you've rightly talked about, there is no country that can claim it has enough researchers. For example, if I give you an example of Germany population is less than half of that of Nigeria, or just about half. But Germany produced the second highest number of PhD globally after US. So you will not be surprised that the Germans, the Americans, the Chinese, they are leading globally.
Yeah.
So because based on the critical mass that you have in your country will lead to the output you can have. For example, about 3% of Germans are millionaires in Europe.
Wow.
So we are far behind. And if you look even at the critical mass in Africa, the number of PhDs per capita population, if you look at South Africa, look at countries like Kenya, they are ahead of us. So we need to be producing the critical mass. So basically saying that we've not had enough researcher. And then the government really also need to invest heavily in research. And it shouldn't be government alone. The industry also need to invest. Like I've worked in South Africa before, in Kenya, in Tanzania. What you see is a lot of industry government partnership. For example, we did a lot of commissioned research as university researcher for the industry. Industry look at a problem. They come to you as the university and say, we want a solution to this problem. They fund it. Through that, you also fund your postgraduate students who are working under you. Wow. Through that, when you finish the work, you, the researcher, you are happy because you make some extra money. Your university is happy because you get a percentage of the money you make. Your department makes a percentage. Your students are funded and their scholarship are paid. And then you also get recognition. And most importantly, you now provide solution to the industry. So you see how industry academia partnership works, and the government also now pays subsidy to match whatever you've done. So it should be a whole of society approach in terms of addressing research. But the Nigerian research industry really need a lot more funding, a lot more government commitment, as well as also commitment from the researchers themselves.
So, can you share a real life example of a research that you have been part of and it actually yielded a real life impact?
Okay, so I have some quick example, but I'll give one possibly in Kenya and possibly one in Nigeria. Previously in Kenya, when we are talking of adaptive and applied research, typically government call all the high influential people in the field. They sit them together in a nice hotel. They discuss and have they list out what the challenges are, and they move ahead with it. But when I was there, I told the people in government that we need to do it differently this time around. We call it a sort of a collaborative research, which is all involving. So we brought in even people from the rural area, police, the different sector of the society. They contributed to designing this research framework. It will surprise you that almost 60 something percent of the total ideas that came up that became finally validated came from the rural area.
Really?
Yes. And the rural guys are saying for the first time, they're happy that their opinion matters in the room. And we had such a celebrated outcome from some of those research that we even got additional funding from the USAID, which was funding the project at that time. So coming back to Nigeria, I've been involved in avian influenza, as I told you, when it first started. We make a lot of major milestones and impact on avian influenza research. That some of the work that we did in Nigeria here become like a landmark to make policies, even globally. Yeah. In terms of managing avian influenza, in terms of the epidemiology, and we've really become, Nigeria itself had become a major contributor to research on avian influenza, to research on things like Ebola, management of Ebola. For example, the situation that happened between 2014 and 2016, and now Nigeria was able to curtail the Ebola at that time.
Pandemic, yeah.
It still shocked the world till today. They still can't understand it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
You've said a lot about this research and stuff. Now, one key area that I think a lot of people, I think it affects not only the academia, the public or private and private sector, is mentorship. Now, what will you say, or how would you say mentorship is important when it comes to research or in education?
Yeah, mentorship is one critical area that is lacking largely in most African countries. Or let me say low and middle income countries. Because what you don't have, you can't give. Most people are supposed to be mentoring. They are also not mentored. So it's difficult for them to actually be able to give mentorship. I remember when I started my research career, we were placed under some mentors. I remember some of those mentors, I gave them a paper to review or to help me add value to it. I've not got feedback till today. And I've had nearly 300 publications by now.
Oh my God.
So when you talk about mentorship, and our academic system also have some shortfall in that. For example, like in the university in South Africa, when you come into the university, there's also the first an induction training. After that induction training, you do a lot of training that now prepare you for an academic career. for how to even academic communication and so many other things. These are areas you are trained and you are certificated in. When you have those type of training, it prepares you ahead. And they tell you, oh, your supervisor is not just a supervisor. It's also an advisor. It's also a collaborator and all those things. So you see like a father figure in whoever is your mentor. And you are willing to follow such a person. And but in addition to that, you also need funding, because if you have a mentor, even if he has idea, but there is no fund to back it up, what can he do? He can do so little. So the universities also need to find a way in which to have this robust engagement with government to be able to provide backup for their academic researchers, especially the high flying one. Put young mentees around them and let them continue to mentor. We really need to do it, because without doing it, you can imagine we've been 50, 60 years in the academic journey. For example, maybe the first university in Nigeria is from about 1940 something. Up till now, we still depend on the West to produce some things for us.
Wow, that is quite it's quite sad to hear that we still have this limitation, especially in a country that is called the giant of Africa now. Do you think the issue of mentorship and coaching is overhyped? Because we have, when we hear coaching now, people hear what comes to their mind is illicit. You're not looking at coaches or mentors that could come and mentor people from maybe impoverished background who have potentials. So do you really think people don't really believe in that? How do you think coaching and mentorship can be perceived better for other people to benefit from?
Okay. To answer that question, I will just tell a little story. One, when I was lecturing in South Africa, there is a particular subject I was leading. And I looked at the assessment criteria. I saw that it was skewed in favor of the students who have a better education background. For example, people who come from elite schools who are already used to computers, people who schooled around the city centers and all those things. They are elitist, a sort of. And then we looked at the whole assessment criteria, and I said, no, this is one of the challenges that we have with this course. So we changed the assessment criteria to include now peer-to-peer assessment. We changed the assessment to include even assessment in the field that now involve the smallholder, middle, and emerging farmer type of a system. We modified the assessment not only to focus on didactic training, not just I'm not interested in you scoring 95%. I'm interested in you being able to apply what you've learned. You know what happened at the end of that assessment year when we were doing the evaluation? One, the student, because it's not compulsory for students to attend class as long as they can pass. But what we noticed was that student attendance in class improves by almost 95%.
Wow, when you applied this
Within that
measures?
1 year. In most classes, they struggle to have 15, 20 students out of 120 students sitting in class. We have at least 70 to 80% of the total class attending the class one. Secondly, it shocks you that it builds confidence in students that come from very poor background. Indeed, at the end of the year, we even get the industry to now sponsor 3 awards for the first, the second, and the third group. Wow. Do you know that the first group and the second group came mainly from the rural background? They pushed the city boys and girls, they pushed them to number 3. And interestingly, one of the students who ended up becoming a lecturer when I left that position, he's one of the students that from that cluster. So mentorship shouldn't be elitist. It should be something that we should inculcate, even right from the primary, secondary, undergraduate students. For example, in South Africa, I'm sorry I have to mention a number because I've done a lot of my academic career there. Also, in the first year of the primary school, you go through what they call a life class, a sort of a life training. That's what they taught you in the first year. So you already begin that mentorship about life, about career, about speaking, about communication,
And how
and all
they
those
can
things.
deal with life challenges.
Life challenge from the first year.
So Hearing you talk about this, I'm sure you didn't learn all this just in school alone. Who were your mentors and how were they able to mentor you through life to what you have become now?
So in terms of mentorship, you learn from somebody, you move ahead, you learn from somebody. All of us actually grow through the shoulder of giants. You have to climb the shoulder of one giant to the other. For example, I never discovered myself until I came for NYSC. I served in Abuja. And the first person to discover me was my director, the director I worked with back then. Immediately, he told me, said, young man, when you finish, I will make sure that you go to a research institute. Wow. You will be a good researcher. Wow. That was how I started. And from there, I was looking at that, what do I have to do with research? I was thinking of setting up a big poultry farm and things like that. But my career trajectory changed. And from there, I moved into the university. I also benefited from a lot of good mentors in the university environment. My PhD supervisors, indeed, both of them were my friend in a way that people were wondering. Indeed, there were one of my PhD supervisors, we were working in the lab together, even on Sundays, because I had a target to meet. And she really wanted me to meet those targets. And it's a celebrated thing for them because when you have a student that is succeeding, it's also a joy to the supervisor who contributed to those successes. So, in terms of mentorship, you need to go through the shoulder of giants. So, if I have to mention names, I have to produce a long list for you because as soon as I finish with a mentor, I move to somebody else, and along the way, I've also now had students that have followed me that I've also mentored, even including people in the society.
Hearing you talk about this is very inspiring and it's encouraging. But again, let me ask, do you think that Nigerian schools and universities are producing enough people who are thinkers, problem solvers, and innovators today?
Unfortunately, my answer would be no. We are producing graduates who are only happy to say, oh, I finished with first class or with a 2-1, with a strong 2-1 or so. But when you ask them about real life application, for example, I remember when we were finishing the university then, I asked one of my colleagues, okay, so what are you going to do after graduation? She said, Fashina, honestly, I don't even know what I'm going to do. And this is a person that has spent 6 years plus almost additional 3 years due to ASU strike that we had then. Say, so you mean if we sit the vice chancellor down and he's asking us, most of us will not be able to give a clear direction. You see, education is not about preparing you for an office or to go to the job market. It's to be able to provide solutions. Even when there is no job, can I create a job for myself based on the learning that I've had? What can I do to change the society? What impact can I make in my immediate society? This is what should be part of the thing our education should be producing. Not just run-of-the-mill set of graduates produce, go to the labor market and begin to fight for the job that may not be there. If I can't get a job, can I become employer of labor? This is what should be our thinking. And this is what education system like Chinese, that's what they do. They don't prepare you to read so many textbooks and all those things. You may accuse the Chinese that they copy so many things. Yes, Chinese will copy and then make it better than you. So at the end of the day, you come back and still take the borrowed technology from them.
And use it.
I was once in a meeting with some Chinese, and I saw that all of them brought out their camera. Do you know they were even taking picture of the door handle, taking picture of table, taking picture of practically everything in the room, with an intention, I'm sure, to go back, look at this technology, see what can we do to improve this, and then they return it back to us. So this is how we should be thinking. We should be thinking of becoming solution providers, not job market seekers.
Okay, sir, what is one lesson or experience from your life that you wish every young person could understand or know early?
One big life lessons I've learned is that every challenge, there's an opportunity hidden within every challenge. When I started my career, it was not easy. We really didn't have all the facility. We have a director who was really very wishful in making sure that we got everything we want, but the system does not provide everything. But within those challenges, I began to create opportunities for myself. I tell people the first 21 trips I took outside the country, I did not pay a single cent. It was all funded. And this is based on the locally relevant research I was doing in Nigeria. Then, because then within the, for example, you say, oh, we don't have this, we don't have that, that's why we couldn't work. Within that limited opportunity you have, what did you do first with those limited opportunity? It will showcase you. So by the time I was even getting my first promotion, I already had about 36 publications. That is more than the publication you need to become a professor in Nigeria, as far back then. So the thing is that we always see challenges around us. We never see how to convert those challenges to opportunity. During when we were serving, I once do the round work with a colleague around Abuja, and we were going around, and I asked, "What did you see?" That day, I saw almost 8 to 10 opportunities around Abuja, and this person is he couldn't see even a single thing. So we all need to begin to look at our challenges and see what is the hidden opportunity behind what I'm doing. This is how we can move forward.
I think with the way our economy is, a lot of people are going through a lot that they always just they want the easier way out. They want the soft life, and they're not like willing to think of what are the opportunities are because of the experiences that we've had. Now, lastly, if you were speaking to a young person now who is not sure of themselves, who don't have some academic qualification to make them feel worthy to have certain opportunities, what will you tell them and how will you encourage them about their future?
Okay, if you talk about academic qualification, it's not be it all. It's not everything you need to succeed. We've had countless number of individuals who never had any opportunity. Indeed, I met one Ethiopian on the street in Addis Ababa, and we got talking. And the guy came to pick us from the airport and took us back to the hotel. And after we settled down, I got talking to him. I found out he's the owner of the hotel. This guy did not have a degree. This is a five-star hotel in Ethiopia.
Wow.
So how did you come about this? He said, do you know that he used to be on the street in Johannesburg selling things in a plastic bag? And from there, he began to see opportunities in South Africa. He was moving goods between Johannesburg and Cape Town. He bought his first car. He began to see opportunity. He began to travel to China. From there, he began to think of investing back home in Ethiopia. Now he has a petrol station, has an hotel, a five-star hotel, has practically everything. I was hurt.
But without
Without indeed, now he is now schooling. Now he's now schooling after having acquired everything he wants. So I told him, I said, "You're an executive student, by the way." Yeah. So you see, don't ever see a limitation to whatever potential. You know, the fact is that inside each and every one of us, there is a potential. Discovering yourself is the first and the most important thing. And once you discover yourself, it doesn't matter. I get my graduation at 20, you get yours at 30. Some flower blooms early, some blooms late, but it still make all the flowers beautiful. So you need to discover yourself and then begin to think, where is my strength? What do I need to do? Where do I need to focus? You don't need to be a master of all and become master of none. Focus on just one simple thing. Do you know selling water alone can create an opportunity for you?
Yeah.
Imagine you're in Lagos, you sell pure water to 10 million out of the 25 million or so people every day. You will become a millionaire. So there is always opportunity for everybody. But you need to discover yourself to be able to make a mark in your field.
That will be the punchline that I will end. Discover yourself. Know yourself. Don't ever look at your circumstances. Look at the opportunities that lie within your circumstances. Thank you so much for coming on this episode of Success with Business Lounge.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I really am pleased to be here.
So you've heard it all. Nigeria's system might not seem to be working for a lot of people, but we have what it takes for us to succeed, not just as individuals, but as a people and as a nation. Till I come your way again, thanks for joining us on Success with Business Lounge.